So I started by learning about the case, and then we needed to reach out and talk to the victims in the case. And there was over 100 that we identified of the 12 deceased. Now you remember, there were 12 deceased and 70 that were injured. Now we could have charged hundreds of counts of attempt murder because all those people in those theaters could have been killed. Bullets went into both 9 and 8. But we limited it down. We'd still be in trial if we didn't do it. We limited it down to those people who were actually injured. And I had to talk to those 100 family members. And in my naivete, I'd never handled a capital case like that before. One time on active duty, I handled a case that the command thought they wanted to take capital and then decided not to. But that was as close as I got. So I sat down with my little legal pad, because that's what lawyers have, and I drew my little T-bar across the top. And I wrote life, death, because I thought those were the two options. There were victims spread out all over the country. And then there were some victims that were local, and we would meet with them. And I'll say, just as an aside before we get there, one of the first things I did after I got sworn in was there was a get-together, I think, of victims at, what was that church, Dave? You remember that? Do you remember it, Teresa? So it's a church, and victims' families are coming together. And I think I'm going to go there, and I'm going to start to get to know these people. And I walk in, and I look across that room, man, and there's Dave Hoover, a police officer from Lakewood that I have known for 20 years. And Dave looks at me and says, hey, man, and I realize Dave is one of the relatives of the deceased. Man, and it just broke my heart, buddy. I hadn't seen Dave in years, and that was our reconnection. And Dave is Teresa's brother. And so we start this process of calling through the victims or meeting them, and I figure it's just going to be easy. It'll be life or death. And there were those victims that said that. There were victims that said, I think this son of a bitch should die for what he did. I want to put the needle in his arm. That was an easy one. Put that in the death column. Then I had people, good people, like the Larimers, who would say, George, as a matter of faith, we're opposed to the death penalty, and that doesn't change just because it was my son that was killed. I respect that, man. I get that, right? Mark that over there. And then there were those that you couldn't predict. Those, like someone that said, I want you to dismiss the case against this guy. I'm like, well, I don't understand. If I dismiss the case, they're just going to let him go. And he says, I know. And I will be there to finish this the minute they do. And I thought, well, I don't have a column for that. You know? I had other people that said, this guy deserves to die for what he did, and that's why we want you to plead him guilty as quickly as you can.